Hi, Ray Pointer here. Do you want to know how to use AI to really supercharge your quantitative research, for example, the analysis? Well, I've got a course that I'm running this week, and it will help you understand how to do that. And here is a really short extract from this course that I've pre-recorded. I'm looking at the 5 leading LLMs, Gemini, ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, and Perplexity, and I'm going to run them through exactly the same exercises to see what sort of results we get. So let's have a look. First of all, I asked them to do a frequency count for gender. So this is a synthetic set of 1,000 NPS hotel interviews. And they all gave me the same counts, which is great. Claude and Perplexity also gave it to me as percentages and a little total as well. And of course, I could have got them identical if I'd made the prompting a bit stricter. Then I ask it to create a new column in this data set, the NPS category. I want it to code the 9s and 10s as a promoter, the 7s and 8s as a passive, and everybody else is going to be a detractor. And then I want it to produce 3 tables, one for total, one for men, and one for women. And in those totals, I want to see the scores for all 10 hotels. I want to see the count percentage, the detractor percentage, passives, promoters, and the NPS score, the promoters minus the detractors. So here is one of the typical tables. They all produce something very similar. In fact, the numbers were the same for all 3 tables for all 5 LLMs, not surprisingly. Some of them use 1 decimal place, some use 2 decimal place. Some of them sorted alphabetically from H1 to H10, but some of them went H1, then H10, then H2, which is sorting alphabetically. Again, I could have tidied that up with different prompting. Using 2 platforms at the same time is my top tip for reducing errors, reducing hallucinations. So maybe you want to use ChatGPT and Gemini. Maybe you want to use Copilot and Claude. Using 2 takes almost no longer, but really gives you a much better chance of getting everything right. So then I asked each one of the platforms to describe the main message. So ChatGPT started by saying, you know what, the NPS score is pretty modest, and there are some really key differences between men and women, and then a few more bits and pieces. Gemini, it started off with women are generally happier guests than men, and then a little bit about the best and worst performers, and something else about the gender discrepancies, and then it pointed out that we had a lot of passives in the data set. Copilot started off again by commenting about the overall NPS performance. Then it dived into the best performing hotels and the least well performing. Then it picked up on the gender differences and the passive domination. What did Claude say? Overall performance again, pretty flat. Significant gender gap. Again, wide variance between the hotels, hotel-specific gender dynamics. And finally, Perplexity, coming again, gender gap satisfaction. Then it highlights some of the top and the bottom performers. And this passive dominance comes out again. And finally, that an NPS of 4.5 is pretty modest. So we can see that we can pull all of this information together and get a good outcome. What are the key learnings about this? The numbers should always be the same, other than formatting, every time you run it for all the platforms. The comments, however, will vary between the platforms. And if you repeat the same exercise, if I did that again with the same platforms, I would get a slightly different answer for Gemini than last time. I'd get a slightly different answer for Claude than I did last time. This analysis was super basic. In the course, we're going to look at some more complicated analyses. But if I told it to use more of the data, I'd have got a richer set of comments and feedback. With my prompting, I could make the feedback shorter, I could make it deeper, I could make it more statistical or more narrative. The key thing about using AI is you want to drive the process. You want to direct the AI to solve the problem. So if you thought that little snippet was interesting, why don't you come along and sign up and join the course later this week?